So you might be wondering, what happened after that? Well, you'll likely be disappointed when you hear that I went home, got some soup, and stared at it blankly as I sat outside. I stirred it around for a while I got cold. I heard someone approach in front of me, and I didn't even bother looking up.
Someone pissed in that soup? You're looking at it like he called you ugly.
Yeah, I can see my reflection.
Yikes. What's got you down?
Just a mentally exhausting day. Not really knowing how to process it, really.
Well, what happened?
I don't know how to talk about it. Edith didn't say anything for a while. I just stirred my soup around for a while as the silence grew more and more uncomfortable. We'd been friends for like 15 years, ever since we were kids, but we still couldn't stand the prospect of being silent around one another. Awkward as hell. So why'd you come find me?
Big boss sent me to find you. Said your report is late.
Don't really know how to finish it.
What? Xander, it's not an essay. This isn't school. Just say what happened.
I can't, Edith. Because I don't really know what happened. It's not so simple as to just write it down because it's so goddamn ridiculous. I can't even talk about it without thinking I'm either insane or getting there.
Okay, stop. Look, whatever you saw, I believe you. Just say it.
I saw a dragon, Edith.
Holy shit! You're off your rocker.
Fuck off.
Xander, come on. Here's the thing. It's not that I don't think you'd ever see a dragon. It's that you were sent to the most boring forest around our entire city, and you claim to stumble across one. Kinda sketchy.
I saw what I saw. I can't look Richter in the eye and tell him I saw a dragon.
You won't have to. You're writing a report, remember? No speech necessary.
You're not helping.
Edith Toombs, I was sent by the captain to come find you.
Oh, jeez. Can I get 5 damn minutes? Yes?
Captain has requested your presence, ma'am. He says it's important.
Ain't it always? Come on, Xander. You can give your report to the captain.
I stared at her for a moment before letting out the most dramatic sigh and rose to my feet. I left my bowl of soup behind, and I was annoyed because I got to eat, like, literally none of it. I mean, I wasn't going to anyway, but I was still pissed. Anyway, after a long walk up the city, we arrived at the keep to speak to Richter. We traversed up the spiral staircase and walked through the wooden door. He was already mid-conversation.
We don't know how dangerous he is, and that makes him more dangerous than we think. I've heard whispers that he's a crack, a failure. I've also heard that he's a monstrous and powerful wizard. We don't know for sure, but our scouts have told us that he's proficient in magic. Therefore, underestimating him will end badly. It's our duty to confront this man and put an end to his merrymaking. I will not lie to you all. Many of you will get hurt. And some may even die. But remember your oath, your sacred duty, your fealty to the princess and her crown outweighs your desire to live. Remember that before you drop your sword and run. We ride at dusk. Adjourned.
Edith threw me a look of confusion and shrugged. She walked over to Richter, motioning me to follow.
For Sergeant Toombs. Thank you for coming. I'll give you a briefing immediately. We'll need your spear on our side. We've received notice that a powerful mage has occupied the abandoned Cadbold Tower, just an hour ride outside the gates. He's been described as dangerous and malicious. We have no proof he's planning on attacking anyone, but we want to bring him in for questioning. He's likely armed with magic, and probably has guards or sentries. We need you on the front line.
Mage, huh? Haven't had too many of those recently. Is he famous?
We don't know his identity. All we know is that scouts reported him conducting alchemy on the top floor of the tower, where the cannonball destroyed the side of the building. He stays on the overlook, allowing him to see us coming. We need to ride when it's dark. I suggest you armor up, grab your weapon, and find a horse.
You got it, boss.
That's sir? Yes, sir. Private Roy. You never sent in your report today. What happened?
I opened my mouth to speak, but remembered how stupid I'd sound if I told my hero that I saw a dragon, even if that is what happened. The look on his face would have killed me. So, I decided against the truth, even though that was probably what I should have gone with. I guess I lost it on the way home. Forgive me, sir. I didn't see anything of note.
You cannot lose a report, Private Roy. That's unacceptable.
Yes, I know, sir.
Good. Then you won't have a problem making up for this mishap by mounting up alongside us.
Sir?
Go get your chainmail, Private. You're in.
My whole body shook. I'd been waiting my entire life for a moment like this where I could prove my mettle in combat. Fighting alongside Richter was a dream come true, and if I played my cards right, I could be in line for a promotion. I may have been a knight yet. I frantically nodded and started back towards the door.
Yes, sir. I'll meet you at the gates when we leave. I won't be late.
Everything was going according to plan. I just needed to grab my chainmail vest and my short sword. All I needed to do then was find a horse. It was cold as we arrived at the tower, almost as though the air here had a frosty chill from the magic energies. We left the horses behind as we approached the outskirts of the tower. We stayed behind a set of old oak trees on a hill, hiding our troops. Edith was up front with Richter, and I, of course, was somewhere near the back. Richter turned to us, a small group of 15, maybe 20 soldiers, and spoke.
He hasn't noticed us yet. We're going to attack the moment we know it's safe to. Therefore, we're gonna need someone to scout ahead. Any takers?
I got this. Be back in a jiffy.
Absolutely not. You wait until it's time to charge before you even leave this spot to take a piss. No. We need someone a bit quicker, a bit more experienced at scouting ahead. But we don't have any scouts.
Whew, you forgot I'm here.
Have Xander do it. He's a scout after all.
Bitch.
Private Roy. Front and center.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Pardon me.
This is an important mission. And you did mention how badly you wanted to see some action, right?
Well, yeah, but I was thinking more like actual combat.
Listen, son. I understand you want glory. But there is glory in making sure that your team has the advantage. You will be the reason we can safely invade. And there is much glory in that. Please, do this for us.
Yeah, I'll find a vantage point.
I wanted nothing more than to actually use the sword I took with me to defend my allies, but Richter obviously had other plans. Instead of being the star team member, I was closer to being the water boy. I put my hood up on my vest and slid down the hill. I quickly ran over to another hill nearby on the other side of the tower and climbed up the tree. After a few admittedly fun flips and swings, I reached the apex and took a look at the tower. I saw a man at the top. I couldn't make out his features, but he was wearing a ragged robe. He resembled that of a disheveled mage. I panned my eyes around the rest of the tower and the surrounding area. I saw nothing. I hopped off the tree and walked up to the tower. I felt the tension of the prospect of the wooden door opening, but it never did. I put my ear up to the door and halted my breath. I heard nothing. It sounded like it was completely empty. No traps, no guards, nothing. Just a lone mage at the top brewing potions. Boring. I quickly stealthed away from the tower, running up the side of the hill again and approaching Richter. I quickly caught my breath, and I told him what I saw.
I don't know if I'm rusty, but I saw nothing besides the mage. I went up to the door and heard no chatter or sounds of anyone moving. I didn't encounter any traps, nothing. As far as my recon goes, I found nothing that should prevent us from going in, surprising him, and taking him down before he could so much as cast a fireball.
I don't know if that's encouraging or concerning. I know scoutings can be incorrect or incomplete, but we have no choice. We'll have to take your word for it. Alright, soldiers, on me. We march. Stay silent.
Richter and Edith led the troops down the hill, staying careful not to fall on their ass. Kinda wish they did, though. Would have been funny. Once they got down the hill, they took a look around, wary of their surroundings. I stayed on the hill with the other backup troops and watched as my allies grew ever closer to the tower. I could tell Richter was stalwart on moving forward, but Edith seemed a little bit on edge. Her arms seemed tight, her hand around her spear on her back. She looked at Richter to try to give herself some confidence, and looked down. Edith stopped in her tracks and held her hand out.
Richter, there's...
An explosion erupted under the captain. My eyes widened and the other troops stiffened. The troops and the captain were thrown to the ground. Richter grunted and got to his feet quickly. A few of them were knocked unconscious.
What the hell was that? A trap?
Oh, Captain, how little care you have. Did you really think I didn't know you were coming? I always knew that the city of Vespera would send its finest to come get little old innocent me. And for what? Brewing potions? Practicing magic at a safe distance? You've bastardized your entire military and everything you stood for.
Damn you. Phineas! Get down from your tower this instant!
Don't tell me you expected that to work. I'm safe up here, and you're in an arcane minefield down there. Not the hardest decision I've made in even the last hour. I think I'll stay up here as you continue to become concussed.
Phineas, we're here to arrest you. You can come down here, and we'll arrest you quietly, or we'll come up there and smack you around for good measure. Your choice.
No, still good up here. Do give my regards to the princess, though. Oh, and say hi to my golems for me.
Golems?
Just then, the wooden door of the tower flew open and out popped a massive creature made of sand and dirt. Richter stiffened and got to his feet. He picked up his shield and lowered into a stance. Edith drew her spear and began circling the monstrosity. It let out a gurgling roar as they attacked. The few remaining soldiers were still trying to carry away the concussed and the unconscious. One of the soldiers stuck its sword into the golem, and the golem smacked him away as if it didn't hurt at all. The remaining soldiers next to me ran down the hill onto the battlefield. I put my hand out and told them to wait, but they were already going. I stayed behind, begrudgingly following orders. Edith stabbed at the creature with pinpoint accuracy, dodging under its massive sand-coated swipes. She slashed at its legs, and it did little to no good. She grunted, obviously frustrated that her attacks were doing nothing. Her hair fell over her face as she stared her opponent down. Richter ran at it and bashed it with his shield. It staggered roughly, but swiped him away. Richter got up immediately and charged again, yelling loudly and flashing his sword. The golem shot sharp projectiles out of its hand and it pierced Richter's leg. He screamed in pain and fell to the ground.
Richter! Shit. How do we kill this thing?
I stared helplessly at a distance. I started down the hill and quickly jogged in the direction of Edith and Richter. I had no idea what I was going to do when I got there, but I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. I just knew if I did nothing, people would die. As Edith ducked underneath the golem and turned to face her, I noticed something. There was an etching on the back of his head, almost as if it was a seal. I stopped in my tracks and yelled to her.
Edith! There's a rune on the back of its head!
What? A rune?
I think if you destroy it, it'll crumble.
How can you be sure?
I'm not! It could go very badly, but it's better than just slashing at sand for the rest of the night.
Edith shrugged as if it was a good point. The golem slammed down on Edith. Edith stabbed it in its arm. She used the planted spear to swing upwards and land on its back. She stood upright, dislodged her spear, and stabbed it through the rune. It let out a cry of what I can only assume was pain, and it crumbled into a harmless pile of sand. Edith fell on her ass, got up, and quickly ran over to Richter.
How bad is it?
A flesh wound at best. Let's keep going.
Are you kidding? It's in your muscle. Your leg is done for. You can't walk. Come on. Arm over my shoulder.
I thought you said the coast was clear.
I thought it was.
Bastard and magical traps laid down. Where's our men?
I saw some of them run inside.
Shit. I'll come back for them. Come on, let's get you out of here.
Is he gonna be okay?
I'll make sure of it. Do your best to get a few guys back to the horses. We're out of here. And whatever you do not go in there and try to fight.
Now, when she said that originally, I had fully planned on following those orders verbatim. But if I did that, would I be telling the story? Just as I turned to watch them walk away, the door slammed open behind me. As I turned to look, I saw 2 soldiers come flying back to me. They fell on either side of me and slid along the ground behind me, dropping their swords as they landed. I turned back to look at them, and they were definitely knocked out. I heard a roar behind me, and I looked towards the tower to see another golem.
No. Xander, run!
In hindsight, great advice. But, once again, if I was smart, I wouldn't be telling you any of this. I saw it slowly approach me and the unconscious soldiers, so I stepped back. As I stepped back, I stepped on something hard. I looked down to see a sword, a long sword. I eyed it and the golem back and forth between desperately picking it up. As I picked it up, I remembered that the other sword dropped too. I looked for it desperately, always keeping an eye on the monster. I found it, threw my short sword away. I picked it up with my other hand, and I paced around the monster.
That little fool is gonna get himself killed.
Damn it, I've got to do something.
The only thing you can do is make sure you get as many soldiers back as we can. You're a soldier before you're a friend. He knew the risks.
But, sir...
I'm sorry. Let's get as many men back safely as we can.
I circled the monster as it eyed me carefully as I held both swords down loosely. I'd been in sword fights before, but never with a monster, and never with 2 of them. Multi-weapon fighting was difficult and in many ways discouraged in the military, but as we already know, I wasn't too smart. I'm still not to this day, if you're keeping score, by the way. This thing was daunting, to say the least. It was intimidating and massive. It quickly jumped at me and I dodged underneath it. I can't explain it, but it just felt so easy to dodge around. It swiped at me rapidly, but I could just see all of them coming. I slashed at its arms a few times to annoy it and stabbed at him with both blades in the stomach. I looked up to see him look down at me, obviously very unamused. I ripped both swords out and jumped back as he slammed down with both hands. I jumped forward, kicking off of his head. I turned midair and slammed both blades into the back of his head. It melted into sand and I picked my swords up off the ground. I took a few deep breaths as I was in shock. There was no freaking way I just did that. I couldn't believe I'd just taken down a golem. I decided not to think about it and rushed inside. I saw no soldiers inside and started to leave, but stopped. I thought about the reaction that I might receive if I was able to disable the mage at the top and bring him into custody on my own. I looked back up the spiral staircase and made my ascent. I found the room at the top, took a deep breath, and opened the door to the room that would change my life forever. As I opened the door, I could see the dusk sky over the perch. I remember thinking it might be the last time I ever saw it, but I just didn't care. I'd spent my entire life in the background, hell, in the shadows of Edith. But I wanted to be something. Something more than plain. Something more than me. I saw him before he saw me.
I don't suppose I can convince you to go back downstairs. Go back to your wretched city and never return. Or, at the very least, shut the door.
He was turned away from me still. He was messing with his chemicals and vials, almost ignoring my presence. He turned to face me after I didn't reply.
You're a little young to be playing hero, don't you think? You come into my domain and expect heroics? Don't be mad.
Your crimes against the people of Vespera.
What crimes?
I don't know. I was just sent to track you down.
No, you weren't. You were brought along as a little patsy, while all the big boys did all the work and had all the fun. I saw you skulking about outside like a child sneaking cookies when they thought their parents didn't notice. Well, I did notice, and I must say, you're in for quite the spanking.
That sounded a lot more threatening in your head, didn't it?
I suppose there's no deterring you then. Who are you? What is the name of the hero I shall slay today?
I'm Xander Roy, a private in the Vespiran army.
Xander Roy. Very well. I'll have to make a mental note of that, just in case someone asks about you. I can say you're buried out back. Ooh, better yet, do you have any illnesses? I need a healthy body for their bones. Bone marrow is an expensive and admittedly awkward thing to ask for when shopping for fragrance.
So what, you're some powerful mage? I assume you know more than just parlor tricks, otherwise the golems would be tough to explain.
Haha, you'd be right. You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you, child? They didn't tell you? Very well. Take heart, fool, for you are in the presence of Phineas, the evil!
Phineas the Evil?
Yes, it is I. Your end has come.
Never heard of you.
What?
I've literally never heard the name Phineas the anything in my entire life.
But that's impossible. I've made a name for myself everywhere.
Oh, no, I believe you. I just don't know, I guess.
Oh, come on. A wildfire in the forest outside of German?
Nope.
An ice storm in the desert of Kahazat?
Doesn't ring a bell.
The locust swarm in the towns of Horrowwind and Volhat?
That was you?
Yes!
Never heard of those places.
God damn you! You're an imbecile! Why do I even waste my time?
He turned away and walked up onto a ledge and looked down at me. He ended up messing with some controls, and suddenly a panel appeared in the ground. It rose onto the surface, and it was another golem, but this one didn't look to be as small as the others. It was still perfectly still, as it was tied down onto the bed-like panel. I gripped my swords tightly.
I do not have much time to play with you, but I did want to test something. Now, you'll know the true intellectual prowess of Phineas, the evil! Ha 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 ha!
Okay, that's the second time you've said your name that way. Do you do that every time, like with the dramatic pause and the laugh? Secondly, where is that sound coming from? What is that organ? How are you doing that? Third, Phineas the Evil. Really?
What? What's wrong with that?
I mean, I don't know. Seems kind of bland, I guess. I mean, like vanilla, you know? Like, why not, like, Phineas the Crazed? Phineas the Mad?
Young man, I will have you know I am only here. I am not crazy.
Okay. No need to get snippy. How about Phineas the Darkener? Oh, I got it. Phineas the Golemancer.
I am Phineas the Evil. Bite your tongue. You will respect my name.
I mean, was Phineas the Spooky taken? Phineas the Mildly Frightening. He looked at me for a really long time before pulling a lever with a very I didn't enjoy that joke expression. Suddenly, bolts of electricity engulfed the golem and it shook violently. Phineas laughed above me.
Your time has come. I, Phineas the Evil, shall be your undoing. I shall watch my minion eat your heart and crush your bones. Rise, Verb the Mute!
You named him?
What can I say? I'm sentimental. Arise, Ferb. I know what we're going to do today.
The monstrosity turned its head towards me and immediately grew angry. I have no idea what I did to piss him off, but apparently he just didn't like the look of me. It snapped its bindings and jumped off its bedding. It growled at me and I raised my blades ready to take it on.
It immediately charged at me, sprinting at me as if it were a very hungry cheetah, and I jumped out of the way as it attacked me. This was a very fast golem, and it gave no room for error like the others. This one almost seemed sentient or something. I tried cutting at it, but the sand was hardened, and my sword completely bounced off. It smashed at me, and I wasn't able to get out in time. It smacked me in the ribs, hard. I coughed violently as I was knocked away. I stood up, using my sword for balance. Phineas smirked behind me, watching the show like a king watching warriors fight for his boon. I turned back to the monster in front of me, and it charged again. It slammed down in front of me with its massive arms, and I dodged right. It swiped at me with its other arms, and I dodged underneath. And I attempted to stab it, but it caught the sword and threw it away. The sword bounced off an old anchor next to me as the chain rattled. It tried to grab me, but I held my swords up and pushed its arm away. As it turned away from the force of the push, I climbed onto its back and prepared to plunge my sword onto its neck. Only one problem. There was no rune.
Oh, did I forget to mention? Those downstairs were faulty prototypes. This one has a rune, but you'll never find it, because it's inside of him. And as you've already seen, your little blades aren't quite sharp enough to cut through his solid exterior. So keep struggling. It's rather fascinating.
I grimaced as it reached a hand up and grabbed me by the torso and threw me towards the door. I tumbled, somehow holding onto my blades as I caught my footing. My back ached from the landing on the hard wood. I had no idea how I was supposed to kill this thing.
Damn it. Oh, how did this guy make such a monster in an abandoned tower hanging over a pond? This is ridiculous. There must be a...
I stopped mid-sentence when I realized what I just said. I knew there was only one way that I was going to get rid of this thing. I charged it head-on and attempted to cut it open, but it grabbed me and I was thrown over its head. I rolled along the floor and dropped my swords. I knew it was now or never. Phineas continued to laugh at my torment. The monstrosity walked towards me. I picked up my swords again and ran at him full speed. I let out a battle cry and plunged the swords into his stomach. Before I could even think about dislodging them, the golem smacked me back near the edge, almost sending me off the tower. I caught myself, stood up, and smiled.
And I believe this is... Oh, what do they say in chess? All right. Checkmate.
Phineas displayed a very confused expression before taking a closer look at the swords. His eyes widened as he realized the cast iron chain wrapped around them. He followed the chain with his eyes to see them attached to, yep, you guessed it, the anchor. I placed my foot on the anchor and with a heavy grunt I pushed it over the edge, sending it sinking into the pond below. The chain rattled violently as it began to straighten out, and Ferb looked down only in time to see it completely yank him. He immediately lost his balance and started clawing at the floorboards as the anchor pulled him off the edge into the water. With a final groan, he sank to the bottom of the water. I peeked over the edge and waved him goodbye. I turned around to see Phineas standing in the center of the room again, with a blue glow in his hand.
Hold still. This won't hurt a bit.
He pointed his hand at me and suddenly my arms and legs failed me. It felt like I was tied down by chains, which was very ironic at the moment. I grunted and struggled to no avail. Phineas began laughing to himself and calling forth another magical energy.
You know, you're quite smart. I think if there's anyone who would make a fine test subject for this, it's you. Please, do tell me how it feels. I'm quite curious. Unless, of course, you spontaneously burst into pieces.
I was trapped and I had no idea what I was going to do. I struggled endlessly because I knew whatever it was, I wasn't going to be good. Just as Phineas was charging his spell, I heard a familiar distant roar. I looked around and I saw nothing. Phineas didn't seem to notice it. What struck me was odd was the change in temperature. It had been cold before. Why was it getting warm?
I call this spell a God's Blessing. You're appreciative, I hope. I wouldn't do this to just anyone. Now, burn and be reborn!
Just as he casted his hand at me again, a forceful gust of wind and a powerful force struck the ground in front of me. I closed my eyes but opened them just in time to see a familiar massive winged lizard with ram horns. Before I knew what was happening, an intense flash blinded us all. Even Phineas covered his eyes. The spell Phineas had on me had broken due to his concentration being shifted. I covered my face as I slowly opened my eyes to see a massive cloud of smoke. Phineas stared at the cloud just as hard as I did. As it gently cleared, the dragon was gone. At first, I thought there was nothing in the cloud, but as I peered closer at the smog, I noticed a figure.
Now then, wizard, bow before me and I shall spare you the awesome might of... Is that my voice? Why do I sound like this? Ah, my claws! Where are my claws? These hands? Where are all my scales? What is this? Skin?
It wasn't a dragon, though. Would you believe me if I said something crazy? Okay, let me try this one on you. In the place of the dragon was a woman. Yeah, a woman. Well, sort of. It was in the shape of one, admittedly a small one. She was short, her skin was fair, her hair was long and golden, but there were other features that were very much not womanly. For example, you ever seen a woman with a tail? What about scales tailored around her skin like tattoos on her wrists, her back, neck, maybe even across her nose? I stared at her for a while before I noticed the horns. They were curved downwards like a ram's. I was in awe. Phineas and I exchanged glances, hoping the other person would know what the hell is going on. We watched as the dragon woman checked herself out, frightened.
You've got to be joking. Don't tell me I grabbed the wrong spell.
What the hell did you do to me, mate?
Nothing. It wasn't meant for you, dragon. You swooped in and jumped in front of it. How is that my fault?
How dare you? Look at me. I'm hideous.
She turned around to face me, and I saw the familiar red eyes.
You.
Huh? Me?
If it weren't for you and your insistent meddling, I would be in my room right now taking a nap.
What? How is this my fault?
Do you need a pair of glasses? Look at me. I'm human. Well, mostly human. Anyway. If you'd have just done what I told you to do and kill me, I would be reincarnated by now. I wouldn't have needed to pay you back.
You're angry at me for not killing you? Give me a break, you're just as obnoxious in human form.
Shut up, you brat! Do you even know who you're talking to?
A very angry short brat with horns?
I'll bite your legs off.
Bring it on, princess!
Both of you shut up. Listen, you're human, that's that. You're welcome. Now, get the hell out of here. I have other business to attend to.
That's it! I demand you turn me back at once!
I can't.
You'd better try that one again.
I can't turn you back. I don't know the spell.
What even was that thing?
It was supposed to be a spell that turned humans into a dragon. I wanted to see if it would work on you so I could use it on my minions. But apparently in my haste, I stole the wrong spell.
What do you mean, stole the wrong spell?
I was a part of a college, and in that college was a library. The Library of the Ancients. They had spells of transformation, and it was the only reason that I joined. I stole it so that I could control an army of dragons. It appears though I didn't take the time to read it carefully and instead took the opposite spell.
You stole from the Library of the Ancients? They should call you Phineas the Stupid.
Shut up!
Then just go back, get the right one, and turn me back. Do you want me to write that down for you or something?
Jeez, who would have guessed that was a lady dragon the whole time?
What did you just say? Come on, speak up.
Nothing.
Oh, what's wrong, human? Am I not feminine enough for you? Would you like me to go outside and put some flowers in my hair? What's wrong? Why so silent now? Does the jester run out of jokes so quickly?
Look, I can't go back. I'm exiled. I'm never welcome in that college again. Or anywhere with that spell. And don't even suggest going in disguise or getting someone else to. It takes an entire life of understanding magic to get in.
I'm sorry. Are you trying to say that I'm stuck like this?
Perceptive, aren't you?
The dragon slowly walked over to him and reached up to grab him by the neck, but she was far too short. She must have been like 5 feet tall. She stood on her toes and couldn't reach, straining her voice. Phineas displayed a very uncomfortable expression. She dropped her arm and looked down, dejected. She whipped around and pointed at me.
You, Jester, come here.
Huh?
Oh, I understand your language better than you do now. Get over here now.
What? Why? And could you put some clothes on?
What?
You're naked. Please put something on. It's very distracting.
What? Are you a child? Does nudity offend the poor baby? You're pathetic.
She snapped her fingers and a brief cloud of smoke appeared over her body. When it was cleared, she was covered in very plain-looking underwear, covering the obviously intended parts.
Like my trick? Thanks, I've been practicing. Now, if you're done being an annoying pest, come here.
I looked around and figured it was just easier to do as she asked. I walked over to her and stood there awkwardly. She beckoned to me.
Bend down.
What?
Bend down! Kneel! Lower your damn shoulders!
I stared at her for a moment before looking at Phineas, who was just as weirded out as I was. I sighed and knelt down. Immediately, the dragon started putting her legs over my neck and sitting on my shoulders.
What the? Hey!
Shut up! Hold still, or I'm going to fall.
What on earth are you doing?
Alright, I'm on. Stand up straight.
Like this?
Yes, that's good. Goodness, how do you humans deal with all this hair? It's annoying.
As she fumbled around with her hair for a few moments, she took her breath. She was silent for a while, just sitting on my shoulders. Without warning, her hand shot out and grabbed Phineas by the neck, and with a surprising show of strength, lifted him above her head. He choked out, obviously shocked.
You listen to me, you pathetic child's party magician, and you listen well. I will not tolerate being human. My father will not tolerate me being human. So this needs to be fixed. And since you were the one who shot me with that spell, you will fix it. Do you understand?
Yeah, please let me go.
Good. Glad to hear it.
She released him and he fell to the ground, hacking and gasping for air. She jumped off my shoulders and walked next to him.
All right. Now, get up. I need to get on your shoulders now.
Whoa, hey, easy. Okay, we can talk at this level. What is it?
You owe me.
What?
You owe me. I jumped in front of a magic spell on your behalf, and you will help me turn back to normal, or my father will be displeased.
Thought you said you didn't need written permission to be out and about.
Yeah, about that. I may have been exaggerating a teensy bit.
Huh? What are you going on about?
So, hypothetically, if my father were to find out about this, it would be very bad. Very, very bad.
For who?
You, me, your grandmother, your dog, a stranger you see once and never again. Everyone. He he can lose patience very, very quickly.
Jesus, sounds like a royal pain.
Funny you should say the word royal.
Is... No. No. Is your dad a king?
Oh, yeah, it's no big deal. Just king of the dragons.
Your father is the Dragon King? You couldn't have mentioned that sooner?
It didn't cross my mind at the time. How do you even bring that up in a standard conversation anyway? Just casually drop a, oh hey, by the way, don't shoot me with any spells, I'm kind of the daughter of a king.
So that makes you...
Yes. I'm a princess.
You know, I was joking when I said that earlier.
Well, that's just great. Now I have to drop everything I'm doing because some stupid little girl decided she would play hero. Now what'll we do?
We're going to need access to a new library, preferably one you're not exiled from. Though that could be a problem. Perhaps what we seek can be found in your city, Jester.
Stop calling me that! I have a name. It's Xander.
Full name, please. I want to be able to track you down if you chicken out and try and get fancy and run.
Alexander Roy.
Very well, Alexander. And you, mage?
Why, I am Phineas, the evil! Damn you two!
And who exactly are you?
My name is not pronounceable by human tongue. But if you were to humanize it, the first few syllables would be Iron.
Okay. Fine, I'll try to sneak you guys into the library tomorrow. We're gonna need a way out of here.
We have one. I hope you can swim. Though, if you can't, I wouldn't be too heartbroken.
Oh god, that's a long drop.
I don't suppose you want to be caught sneaking an evil wizard and a dragon out the front with all your comrades watching?
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty horrendous idea.
Then, this is our only other option. Ah, fresh air. The wind in our faces. The gentle splash. Ah!
Before Phineas could even finish his thought, Iron pushed him in the back, causing him to fall into the pond below. He let out a yelp, plunging into the water. She slowly turned towards me and raised a brow.
Need a hand, Alexander?
Nope. I think I got it. She flashed me a warm, albeit scary smile with her fangs, as she fell backwards gracefully in the pond below. I watched her fall, and saw Phineas drying his robe off with a glum expression on his face. I took a step back, ran forward, and jumped. As I fell into the water, I began to think about my day tomorrow. A wannabe knight, an evil mage, and a dragon princess walk into a library. Sounds like a bad joke, don't it?